सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्म उपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरते यौपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये। ओमित्येतदक्षरमुद्गीतमुपासीत ओमिति ह्युद्गायते तस्योपव्याख्यानम्। तासां त्रिवृतं त्रिवृतं एकैकाम् अकरोत्। The deity called Sat akarot carried out trivritam trivritam ekaikam. Each one was made threefold, threefold. Thus, in the final element space, there is half of space, 1/4 of fire. In one half, the final fire, 1/4 of water, 1/4 of earth, half of fire. In the final water, the half of water, 1/4 of fire, 1/4 of earth. Final earth, 1/4 of fire, 1/4 of water, half of earth. यथाम खलु सौम्य इमास्तिस्रो देवतास् त्रिवृत्तु एकैका भवति तन्मे विजानीहि। So the Upanishad said, or the teacher said that Trivrit Karanam, this triplication happened, that each element became a gross element. Now wants to illustrate how that Trivrit Karanam, that Tripli is very evident with an illustration. Yad agnehe rohitam rupam tejasas tadrupam. So say Uddalaka says to Shvetaketu that is the red color in this gross fire is the color of the subtle element fire. Yes, Shuklam Tadapam, the white color which you see in the fire is due to the subtle element water in it. Yet Krishnam tadannasya, and the black color that you see in the fire is due to the subtle element earth. Apagat agnehe agnitvam. When you see this so-called Agni, so what you normally call fire, when you really appreciate this fact, when the perception changes, right now the perception is a perception called fire, and for that object you use the word fire. So when you see fire, perceive fire, then it creates in you the notion of fire and the corresponding word and corresponding notion. This is what fire invokes in you. However, when you appreciate that this fire is nothing but the combination of the three colors, red, white and black, then the perception changes. There is no more fire. What is now there are only three colors. So apagat, agnehe agnitvam, merely change of perception. No physical change is required anywhere. What is required is merely a change in our perception. One perception creates the notion of bondage and sorrow. When you look upon fire as fire, you think that this is a reality, that Jagat is reality, that Jiva is reality, the limitedness is reality. Well, that perception alone is responsible for the misery in life. Change that perception. Apagat agnehe agnitvam. The fireness of fire is gone. Moment you appreciate what is called fire as nothing but the three colors. Vacharambanam vikaro namadhayam. The fire is vikara, is modification of these three colors. Trini rupani ityeva satyam. The three colors alone are real. In that example, this is an illustration. And then say in the sun also, in the moon also, in the lightning also, in each case the red color belongs to the subtle element fire, the white color belongs to the subtle element water, the black color belongs to the subtle element earth. So the sun no more remains sun, it is reduced to three colors. The moon no more remains moon, is reduced to three colors. The lightning remains no more lightning, reduced to three colors. Everything loses its isness. The Shabda and Pratyaya. Shabda, Aditya. Pratyaya, the concept of Aditya. The word Aditya automatically creates the concept. That word also goes, the concept also goes. The concept goes, and so the word also goes, and what remains are the three colors. So with reference to one element fire, Udaharanam, the illustration has been given, which illustration then has to apply to other three, the water and the earth, and thus to appreciate it, what is nothing but the three colors. Now continue to page 243. Bhashyakara says in the seventh line, Sarvasya trivitkratatve phalitamaha. Where everything is triplicated, threefold, phalitam, what does it amount to? What is the nishkarsha? What is the ultimate understanding? Yadi, so Bhashyakara says, यदि सर्वं जगत् त्रिविकृतम् इति अज्ञादिवत् त्रीणि रूपाणित्येव सत्यम् अग्नेः अग्नित्वम् अपागाद् जगतः जगत्वम्. So because of Trivritkaranam, because of the triplication or threefold combination, Agnivat, Agnyadivat. Like in case of the Agni, etc., the fire, the sun, the moon, the lightning, in which cases this was illustrated. Trini Rupani Ityeva Satyam. If in case of fire, the sun, the moon, the lightning, this now particular rule or this understanding applies that in them what is true or the real are only three colors, and therefore the fireness is gone, the sunness is gone, the moonness is gone, the lightningness is gone. Then if the whole universe also is a product of Trivit Karanam or this threefold combination, then the same rule applies to the whole universe. Yadi sarvam jagat Trivit Kritam. The whole universe also is a product of this threefold combination. Then apagat jagatah jagatvam. If Agni loses Agnitvam by now changing the perception that Agni is nothing but three colors, then the whole Jagat also loses Jagatvam by appreciating that what is nothing but the three colors. That's what Abhinava Narayana and Nendra also said. Agnyadi udaharanena sarvasya jagataha trivitkritattvam jnatavyam. By the illustration of fire, etc., we should understand that the whole universe also is nothing but a combination of the or the product of the threefold combination. If you read Anand Giri and the line 24, Yatha Agnyadi Trivit Tatha Sarvameva Jagat Yadi Trivit Kritam iti Angikritam. Just as the fire, the sun, etc., are now appreciated as Trivit Kritam, but that is the illustration was given with the help of three colors. That look how Agni is the product of this threefold combination of the three elements, so also the sun and the moon. Tatha sarvameva jagadedi trivit angikritam. Then, if you now have come to the understanding that the whole universe also is nothing but a product of this threefold combination of elements, tada agnehe agnitva jagatah jagatvam apagatam. Then, like the fireness of the fire, the worldness, the creationness of the creation also is gone. Jagat jagatchati the jagat. As Panini explains that jagat, word jagat is derived from the root gam, to go. So gacchati is the jagat, that which is moving, that is always constantly changing. Or as Vallabhacharya says, jayate gacchati the jagat. So that is the nirukta. Where the letters of the word jagat are taken, jayate. So that which is born, gacchati, that which constantly changes the jagat. It no more remains jagat. Trini Rupani Ityeva Satyam. The idea is that whatever is changing, that is mithya, and that is subject to negation, and it reduced to what does not change. Just as in case of the pot also, the name and form are changing, and they reduce to the clay that does not change. Similarly also, in case of all the names and forms of the universe, the names and forms are all changing. What does not change are the three colors. Then Anandagiri says, Tathapi Katham Sanmatra Parishesha Syat. All right, the whole universe reduces to the three colors. But still, how do you say that the whole universe reduces to Sat? Iti ashankyaha tatha iti. All going back to the other tika, yach apagat agnehe agnitvam ityadina rupatra vyatirekena agnadehe abhavaha. So by the statement that the fireness of the fire is gone, therefore there is no such entity as fire apart from the three colors. Just as there is no entity such as a pot apart from clay. take away the clay, no part remains. Similarly, what you call fire and the sun and moon, etc., are nothing but the manifestation of three colors, and they will take away the three colors, nothing remains there. You can say the three colors, the three elements are the upadana karanam, the material cause. Just as clay is the material cause of the pot, take away the clay, nothing remains, no such entity as pot remains. So also the three colors are the material cause, take them away, and then no fire and no sun, nothing remains. That is okay. So Rupatraya Vitekena Ajnade Abhavaha. Therefore, there is a non-existence really of fire, etc., apart from the three colors. This is Trini Rupani Ityeva Satyam. The three colors alone are real and nothing else is real. Tena Sarvasya Jagataha Asatvam. Therefore, the whole Jagat of name and form now it becomes Asat or Mithya appearance. Rupatrayasyeva Satyatvam. Three colors alone are real. These three colors alone manifest as the Jagat. Just as the clay manifests as pot, so also the three colors manifest as the Jagat of name and form. Iti Ajnadivat, so that we already read. So Ajnadivat, three Rupanityeva Satyam, etc. Then the Tikakara continues now on page 244. Rupatrayasyapi karyatvena satyatva anupattehe. Wait a minute. These three colors are not the ultimate reality, they themselves also are karyam of the product. So, in the illustration of the pot and clay, you can say that the pot vikara is mithya, the clay is real, but clay is not the ultimate reality because clay itself is vikara, it's a self-modification of something else. So therefore, the process of reduction should continue until you cannot reduce further. So, Rupatrayasyapi karyatvena, these three colors or the three elements also are karya, they are also product or they are also created. Satyatva anupattehe, whatever is created is limited, is changing, is mithya, means subject to negation, never mithya. So those three colors also cannot be the ultimate reality. Tadvara mool karanameva satyamidi avagantavyam. Therefore, what the Shruti wants to say, as Bhashyakara will explain, that there must the process of reduction must be further carried out by you. Shruti is just illustrated, and that process must be carried out further to arrive at the final reality. And therefore, Moola Karanam, the Karanam, the Upadana Karanam of material cause is real, and the Karyam, the effect is unreal. So, the fire is the effect, three colors are the material cause. The three colors also are effect, and whatever is the Moola Karanam, the primary cause, that alone must be real. Tatha Anyasyapi. So now Annasyapi. We are on page 244 and the first line Bhashyakara says Tatha Annasyapi Apshungatvat Apaha Ityeva Satyam Vacharambhana Matram Annam. So now we are told that the three colors are real. What are these three colors? The three elements, the fire, water and earth. So now Bhashyakara is, what is this earth? Tatha annasyapi apshungatvat. What is shungam? Shungatvam, karyatvam. Shunga means sprout. So annam or the earth element, earth also is the sprout or the karyam the effect of the element water. This will be told later on also, but Bhashyakara right now on this occasion says, what is the purport of this whole discussion? Therefore, the earth element, earth is the product of the element water. Therefore, earth is nothing but water. Therefore, apaha ityeva satyam, water alone is real and nothing else. So don't think that in earth there is water as well as something. Don't think that in the clay, in the pot, there is clay as well as something. No. There is no such thing as name and form which is any kind of a substance at all. Meaning that in any entity, there is nothing other than the upadana karanam, material cause. Of anything, the material cause alone is the reality. Of what? Of the element earth also, water being the material cause ever, that alone is reality, nothing else. Nothing else is left in there. If something is left, then we still have to reduce it further. Or we don't, but nothing is left. If anything is left, then it becomes real. If the pot has something apart from clay, suppose name and form in a reality, that even after taking out the clay, the name and form remain, then you have to deal with it, But then, no name and form remains. So says, apa ityeva satyam. So, trini rupani ityeva satyam, that evakara is there. The three colors alone are real, nothing else is real. So also, in case of the earth and the water, water alone is real, nothing else is there in what we call earth. So what happens? Vagat annasya annatvam. When annam is looked upon nothing but up or water, then the annatvam, the earthness goes away. What remains is water. Tatha apamapi, then Bhashyakara says further. Tatha apamapi tejashungatva vacharambhanatvam tejah ityeva satyam. Tatha apamapi tejashungatvat. What we call water also, being nothing but the product of the element fire. Fire is the material cause of what we call water. And therefore, in the so-called water, what is real is tejaha, element fire, and nothing else. Tejaha ityeva satyam. Then further, tejasopi satchungatvat vacharambhanatvam sadityeva satyam ityesha arthaha vivakshitaha. Tejasopi, even for the element fire, satchungatvat, because tejas fire also is a product, because that's how the Upanishad presented. So then tad aikshata or sa devata aikshata, that devata called Sat, it saw, visualized. Bahusyam prajaya tat tejaha asrujata, and then it created teja, meaning that what is called Sat alone manifested itself as the element fire. So fire is nothing but the manifestation of the Sat, just as the pot is the manifestation of clay. So that element fire also, which is the first element in this particular text, also reduces to Sat or existence. Therefore, Sat ityeva satyam, therefore Sat or existence alone is real. Iti esha artha vivakshitaha. So vaktum ishtaha. This is artha, this is the purport of the discussion. What the Shruti wants to convey is the ultimate cause is real, ultimate cause being Sat, that alone is real, nothing else is real. Again, coming back to the Tika, says Anandagiri in the line 17, Rupatra Vyatarekena Jagat abhavat. Since the Jagat is non-existent apart from the three colors, abhavat, similarly, Krishnasyapi rupasya prithvi shabditasya. What is the black color? Is nothing but the element earth. Meaning that whenever Shruti uses the word black, it means Prithvi, element Prithvi, earth. Shukla Rupamatra Jalakaryatvat, nothing but Karya or the effect of the water which is from the color white. Tat Atirekena Asatvam. So the element earth is non-existent apart from this element water. Prithvivat apamapi Shukla Rupamatranam. Water is the matra, the pure element of the color white. Lohita Rupamatra Tejo Vikaravatvat. And that white also is the modification of the element fire which is red. How that is that they alone know. How is white the modification of red? The black is modification of white and white is modification of red. But this much we know, that fire when it cools down becomes liquid, and liquid when it's further cooled down becomes ice. So from fire the water, the fluid, and from fluid to the solid. So fire to water to earth, that can be seen. Therefore, water happens to a white color, earth happens to a black color, fire happens to a red color. So we to say that the color red brings about white and white brings about black. Tad vyatirikan abhava, and therefore water also has no existence apart from the element fire. Tasyapi satkaryatvat tatah bhedena asatvam. And the element fire or the color red also being the product of the sat or existence, it doesn't exist apart from sat. Sanmatrameva parishishtamiti. What then? Everything reduces to sanmatram, merely existence. Iti etat trivut prakarana vivakshitam. So this is what the idea is. Even though description is the threefold combination, illustration is reference to the color, the colors of the element fire, but what the Shruti wants to convey is that ultimately all of this gets reduced to Sat, existence, that alone is real. Or if you go down to the second Tika, on the line 30, Nanu yadagnehe, okay. So that is done. Now we go to the next line. Introduction. Nunu yad agnehe rohitam rupam apagad agnehe agnitvam trini rupani ityeva satyam ityaya vakya paryalochanaya trivurtataseva karyasya karana vyatarikan abhavah karana jnanena jnanam chedi pratiyate. So from what the Shruti is illustrated, it appears that a product is not apart from the three colors. The three colors are the karanam. The idea is karanam vyatirekena karyasya abhava. An effect does not exist apart from the material cause. And three colors are the material cause. So whatever is the product of three colors or three elements, that is reduced to sat. Okay. Karana jnanena jnanam chedi pratiyate. So here the proposition is, by knowledge of one, you know everything. So by knowing the material cause, you as well know the effect. And we say that Sat is the material cause for these three elements, because this Upanishad describes only three elements. Tatasya vayavade trivutkrita anantarbhavat. This Upanishad did not mention the element space and element air. So in the threefold combination, those two elements are not included. Anantarbhavat, they are not included. So now we can see how. whatever is the product of the three elements, all of them can be shown to reduce to Sat. Element earth reduces to water, water to fire, fire to Sat. But how about element air, air and space? Therefore, anantarabhavat sadvijnanat na jnanam syat. In this discussion, the elements air and space are not included. Therefore, when you know Sat, you can know the three elements fire, water and earth. But how about knowledge of elements air and space? They are not included. Therefore, they will not be known by knowing Sat. Iti shankate. So, this shanka, because this Upanishad mentions three elements. So that is why the Taittiriya mentions five elements. Therefore, the shanka, the doubt arises, how to account for the other two elements. Nanu iti. Vasavashyakara says in the second line, nanu. Or again, going back to Anandagiri, sorry. Triyutkarana pakshe na eka vijnanena sarva vijnanam siddhati parishishta jnaya sadbhavaditi. Same thing. Triyutkarana pakshe, in this position of the threefold combination that the Upanishad has explained. Na eka vijnanena sarva vijnanam siddhati. By knowing one, namely Sat, you can know only the three elements and the products of three elements, but that does not include the whole universe. Therefore, you do not know everything by knowing Sat. Parishishta vijnaya sadbhavat. Because vijnaya, something to be known, parishishta remains unaccounted for. The element air and space remain unaccounted. So by knowing Sat, you know the three elements and what is created of three elements. But how do you know the elements air and space? They are not accounted for. Therefore, knowing Sat is not enough. Something else also must be known to account for the elements air and space. So this is the idea. Nanu iti. Nanu vayavantarikshe tu atrivikrite तेजः प्रभृतिषु अनन्तर्भूतत्वात् अवशिष्येते. No objection. Vayu antarikshetu atrivutkrute. In the description of Trivutkaranam, the threefold combination, the elements Vayu antariksham, meaning the elements as air and space, are not included. Therefore, atrivutkrite, therefore, these two elements have not undergone the threefold combination. Tejas pravrutishu anantarbhutatvat, because there is no mention of these two elements, and therefore they are not included in the three elements that are mentioned. Therefore, these three elements alone underwent the process of threefold combination, but the other two elements did not go through that. Avashishyete. Therefore, even when accounted for three elements and shown how earth reduces to water, water to fire, fire to Sat, therefore knowing the Sat, you know everything that is produced from three elements, but then these two other elements remain. Avashishyete. Then Bhashyakara further says, Evam gandha rasa shabdasparshascha avashishtaha iti katham sata vijñātena sarvamanyad vijñātam bhaved tad vijñāneva prakarantaram vāchyam. Evam, similarly also, gandha, rasa, shabda, sparshascha, avashishtaha. So you have accounted for the rupa or the color in all the illustration, but Shruti has not mentioned the other qualities. What are they? Gandha, the smell, rasa, the taste, shabda, the sound, sparsha, the touch. They are not accounted for. The idea is that you must account for the whole creation and show that the whole creation is not apart from Sat. But in what the Shruti has mentioned, Shruti has accounted only for three elements and not accounted for Vayu and the Antariksha. And Shruti has accounted only one color, which is element fire, but not accounted for the smell and the taste and the touch and the sound. So all of these things remain unaccounted for. So even if you understand what the Shruti says, still you do not know how these things also reduce to Sat if they do. Katham sata vijñātena sarvanyad vijñātam bhavet. Therefore, by knowing Sat, how do you say that everything becomes known? Because by knowing Sat, you know only three elements and what is produced from three elements, but how about the other two elements and how about the other four qualities? Or if you know answer, then tad vijñāneva prakarantaram vāchyam. There must be some other way of knowing those things which are not accounted in this. That's what Anandagiri said. Iti padam katham ityadina sambadhyate. So, iti katham sata vijñātena, that iti goes, with those subsequent passage. Gandhadescha shabdantaha gunaha gunishu anantarbhutaha stantiri. Now the Niyayikas say that the guna and guni are different. That means the element fire has the quality called the color. So they look upon color as separate from fire. The element, the quality sound is separate from the locus, which is space. So gandhadescha shabdantaha gunaha gunishu anantarbhutaha. So you have accounted for only one guna quality, namely color. So even if you account for three elements, understand, fire, water and earth, you account for fire and accounted for the quality color. You accounted for water, but how about accounting for the quality taste? Because taste stands apart from water according to Niyayikas. You accounted for earth, all right, but how about the quality smell, which stands apart from earth? So gandhadescha shabdantaha gunaha gunishu anantarbhutaha santiti. So those qualities, they stand apart from the locus, which is the guna, the guni. Guni means locus of the guna. Idi na sadvijñānena tadvijñānopattihi. Therefore, by knowing Sat, you do not even know all those qualities. What qualities? Gandha, rasa, shabda, sparsha. Iti. So Vashyakara says, tadvijñāna. So Purvapakshi said, tadvijñāneva prakarantaram vāchyam. So Anandagiri explains, tadvijñāne means what? Sadvijñānena vāyavādi vijñāne. By knowing Sat, you will not explain how Vayu and Antariksha get known. By knowing Sat, no, you will not explain how Gandha, Rasa, Shabda, Sparsha, how they are known. By knowing Sat, only the three elements and the quality, the color are known. So illustration includes only that. How about the rest of the things are known? So tatra prakarantaram tat karyatvat atiriktam iti yavat. So therefore, for knowing those which are not accounted for, you must show a different rule or a different method of how to know them by knowing Sat. Whereas the other Tika says, Nanu Jivasya yatha Tirutpura karya anantar bhavepi Sat abhedena Sat vijnana jnatavyam. He follows a different track here. So understand that not only there is Jagat, but there is Jiva also. So by knowing Sat, you should know Jagat as well as Jiva. Even if you know Sat, because the Shruti talks about the creation of three elements and creation of Jagat. So you know Jagat by knowing Sat. How about Jiva? So hence it is that Jiva also is not apart from, even though Jiva is not the product of Sat, but Sat also is existence and Chit or consciousness, and Jiva is not apart from consciousness. Therefore by knowing Sat or Chit, you as well know Jiva. Therefore understand that Jiva also is accounted for. Okay. Sat abhedena sad vijnanat jnat jnatavyam jivasya. So by knowing Sat, you as well know Jiva, because Jiva is not apart from Sat. Tatha vayavadyas. Then similarly also, why not you assume that by knowing Sat, the Vayu, Antariksha, etc. also become known? Ita ashankya tasya Sat abhedat Sat jnanena jnatatvebi vayavade tadabhavat. Understand that Jiva is not apart from existence, not apart from consciousness. So by knowing consciousness, Jiva is known. But who says Vayu is not apart from Sat? That is not explained. So Vayu, Antariksha and Shabda, Rupa, etc., the Shabda, Gandha, all this stand apart from Sat. Therefore, Tajnane Upayantaram Vachyam. So knowing Sat is not enough to know all other things. Therefore, for knowing them, you must show a different method. What is prakarantaram? Vachyamit anantaram tan nasti. Iti shesha. So prakarantaram is what? Karana jnanena karya jnanam. One prakara is there. So the prakara or the method employed so far is that you know the karyam, the effect, by knowing the material cause. But that rule will not apply to those Vayu Antariksha which are not included. And therefore, how will they be known? You have to give some other, show some other method. And there is no such other method. Therefore, by knowing Sat, you will not know those things. So your pratigna, your proposition that by knowing knowledge of one, everything becomes known, is not proven. So what answer Bhashyakara gives to this? Says Anandagiri, Akashadehe Trishu eva Antarbhava Sambhavat. Says no, these three elements also include the other two elements. Because these three elements could not be without the other two elements. And these three elements very much show the presence of the other two elements in them. So the what we call fire not only shows the presence of the colors red, white and black, not only fire shows the three elements fire, water and earth, it also shows the elements space and air. Because fire also has sound, fire also can be touched. So when you talk about fire, automatically other two elements and all those qualities also are talked about. That's how Bhashyakara gives proper accounting, that nothing is left out. Akashadehe Trishu eva Antarbhava Sambhavat. it is possible to show how in the three elements, other two elements, other four qualities also are included. Therefore, na parishishta vijnayamasti, therefore, nothing remains which is unaccounted for to be known. Or, going to the next tika, satkarya tejah pravritishu vayavade upalambhad. In fire, water and earth also, you see the space as well as the air, as well as the other four qualities. Tadantarbhava pratiyate. Therefore, all those things also, we can see that they are present in these three elements. Such a sat karyatvam vina na upadyate. When element fire is the product of sat, and fire also shows that there is sound in there, and there is touch in there. So the other elements are there. So they could not be present in fire. If the whole fire is product of sat, then everything in fire also is product of sat. So if you see Vayu and Antariksha also, that they could not be there unless they were also the product of sat. Such a sat karyatmina na upadyate sat karya bhinnasya niyamena sat karya bhava anupattehe antarbhava anupattehe. If Vayu and Antariksha were not the product of sat, then they could not have been present in Agni, which is product of sat. So Agni is the product of sat. So whatever is present must be product of sat. And Vayu and Antariksha also are seen to be there in fire. Therefore, they also must be the products of sat, otherwise they could not have been along with fire, could not be included in fire. You see, in this pot, you say that you account that there is clay. Now you see this pot has a narrow mouth, has a flat bottom, has a big stomach. So all of these also must be product of clay only. Whatever is in pot, if the pot is the product of clay, then whatever is in the pot must be product of clay. Otherwise, they cannot show up in pot. You make pot from the clay and something else shows up here like a feather or whatever it is, it cannot be. So whatever shows up in the pot must be the product of clay. Similarly, whatever shows up in fire, if fire is the product of sat, then whatever shows up in fire must also be the product of sat. In fire, you see air, you see space, you see sound, you see touch, you see color, smell, taste. All of these are there in fire. Therefore, all of these also must be the product of sat. Otherwise, they could not have been present in the fire. That's the idea. Tatascha tirutkratatva abhavepi sat karyatvat sat vijnanena jnanam siddhyati. So even though the two elements, Antariksha and Vayu, are not part of the threefold combination, but they are still products of sat, because they are present in the fire. So they are product of sat. So even if they are not products of the threefold combination, being products of sat, by knowing sat, they are as well known. So Naisha dosha, Bhashyakara says, Naisha dosha रूपवद् द्रव्ये सर्वस्य दर्शनात्. Naisha dosha, that defect does not arise, meaning that the defect that the elements space and air are not accounted for, all the qualities, namely gandha, rasa, shabda, sparsha, are not accounted for, that defect does not arise. How do you say that? So Bhashyakara explains, Rupavad dravye sarvasya darshanat. In Dravya means a substance. Rupavat possessed of color. In any substance possessed of color, you find the other four also. So if this is a substance possessed of color, so element fire definitely is there. But the touch also is there, the sound also is there, and then the color also, the color of course is there, taste is there, smell is there. So in any entity possessed of color, you also find the presence of the remaining things. So Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, everything is here in any sensible entity. And similarly, space and air also are there. Therefore, Rupavad Dravya. Rupa is not possessed of Rupa. Dravya or any substance possessed of color. In that, Sarvasya Darshanat, you see all of these present there. So Anandagiri says, Katham tejo banneshu sarvasya akashadehe darshanam. How do you say that in this fire, water and earth, there is also darshanam, that you see the antariksha and vayu. How do you see all of this? Where are they? So Katham, then Bhashyakara says, Katham. How do you, so now you have to show it. How do you say that all of them are present in an object possessed of color? Says Anandagiri, Tejo Grahanam Abannayo Upalakshanam. So Rupavad Dravya, when Bhashyakara said, that is Rasavad Dravya and Gandhavad Dravya also. So Tejo Grahanam Abannayo Upalakshanam. So, meaning that any dravya or substance possessed of color or the taste or the smell. Tatrapi sparshadi upalabde avisheshad, because there also shabda, sparsha, all of these are found. Yattu gandhadi, Tatra shabda sparshayoho akashavayavosya bhutatre pratyaksha anumanabhyam upalabdhim darshayati. In anything that, any object which has color, Bhashyakara says how the shabda sparshayoho, the shabda and sparsha also is there. Akashavayoho, when shabda is there, that is the quality of akasha, so akasha also is there. When sparsha is there, that's the quality of vayu, so vayu also is there. So first Bhashyakara shows how in any substance possessed of fire or color, the akasha and vayu and their qualities also are there. So pratyaksha anumanabhyam. Pratyaksha you can see, and anumanam, what you cannot see, you can infer. That's why the Tejasi Bhashyakara says. Tejasi tavat rupavati shabdasparshayoho api upalambhat vayavantarikshayoho tatra sparsha shabda gunavatoho sadbhavaha anumiyate. Tejasi tavat rupavati, tavat to illustrate. Tejasi rupavati, tejas or element fire which is possessed of the rupa or the color, red, rupavati, rupa means color. Shabda sparsha api upalambhat. So in fire you also perceive shabda and sparsha. Fire makes sound, tar 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 tar. Sparsha, it is hot touch. So shabda sparsha api upalambhat. This is pratyaksha, upalambhat. Vayu antarikshayo, therefore you infer. You may not see vayu, you cannot perceive vayu in fire, you may not perceive the space in fire, but you experience the sound as well as touch. So from that you infer that akasha must be there and the Vayu also must be there. So Vayu antarikshayoho tatra shabda sparsha shabda gunavato sadbhava anumiyate. So part is pratyaksha, part is anumeya. In fire, you can see, you can experience the sound, you experience the touch, that is a pratyaksha. From the experience of sound, you infer the presence of space. From the experience of touch, you infer the presence of vayu. So, pratyaksha anumanabhyam. The qualities are pratyaksha and the elements are anumeya. Sadbhava anumiyate, therefore you infer the presence also of space and air. So tatra shabda sparshayoho akashavayavoscha bhutatre pratyaksha anumanabhyam upalabdhim darshayati. Bhashyakara said how that in this element or any object possessed of color, you find the shabda and sparsha as pratyaksha and vayu and akasha, the two elements, as anumeya. Tejasi iti. So when Bhashyaka said Tejasi, Anandagiri says Tejo Grahanam Abannayoho Upalakshanam. So Tejasi Rupavati. And then what is it? So Apsu, Gandhavatsu, Rasavatsu, and Prithivyam, Gandhavatyam. That's how you have to understand. Tatravi Sparshadi Upalabdehe, because Shabda and Sparsha and Rupa are perceived in water, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa are perceived in earth. From that you infer the presence of their corresponding elements. Avisheshat yattu gandhadi jnantaramati iti tatraha. So first Bhashyakara shows the presence of the two elements, Vayu and Antariksha. Shows now the presence of the other four things. The Gandha, Rasa, Shabda and Sparsha, which is not accounted in Rupa. So Tatha, then Bhashyakara says, Tatha abannayoho रूपवतोः रसगंधांतर्भाव इति. तथा similarly, so bhutatre rupadi antarbhavavat. Tatha similarly means what? How in the three elements, the fire, water and earth, there is also the touch and the sound, like that. Avannayoho rupavatoho, in water and earth, which are possessed of the color. Rasagandhantar bhavaha, we perceive that the rasa and gandha, the fluidity as well as the smell. Trishu eva antarbhave phalitamaha. When all of those are included in these three, then what does it mean? So Bhashyakara says, Rupavatam, Trayanam, Tejo Bandhanam, Trivutkarna Pradarsanena, Sarvam Tadantarbhutam, Sadvikaratvat, Rupatrevate, Vijñātam manyate śrutihi. Rupavatam trayanam tejobandhanam trivutkarana pradarsanena. By illustrating these three elements, the fire, water and earth, which are possessed of rupa or the color, so by showing the threefold combination of this, sarvam tadantarbhutam, Shruti thinks that all of these other two elements and the four qualities also are included in them. Tad sad vikaratvat, because all of them are the vikara, the modification of sat. Therefore, rupatrayavata, vijñātam manyate shruti. So, like the three colors are known similarly also as effect of sat, so also everything also is a product of sat. This is what Shruti thinks, and that's what is intended by the Shruti to convey here. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.